Hello and welcome to Palace Intrigue. I am your host, Mark Francis. Harry had two huge televised interviews on Sunday. First, we'll take a look at his interview on ITV with Tom Bradby, and then the 60 Minutes interview in the second half of today's podcast. ITV shared a published recap highlighting that Harry touches on his mother's death, family fallouts, and more, and the saucy headline that Harry suggested Camilla leaked private conversations with William. Bradby asked about it, and Harry said, stories began to appear everywhere in all the papers about her private conversation with Willie. Stories that contained pinpoint accurate details, none of which come from Willie, of course. They could only have been leaked by one other person present. They discussed the moment Harry learned of his mother's death. Harry shared, "Only now did I realize about how many hours he'd been awake, and the compassion that I have for him as a parent, having to sit with that for many, many hours, ringing up his friends, trying to work out how the hell do I break this news to my two sons." I'd heard people talking about there being photographs. By this point, I was starting to understand the involvement of the paparazzi chasing her. And to this day, I will remain eternally grateful for Harry's then private secretary, Jamie, for showing me what he believed I needed to see, but removing the stuff that he knew I didn't need to see. Did Kate and William not like Meghan? Quoting Bradby, "Almost from the get-go," Harry said. "Yep, fair. I thought the four of us would bring me and William closer together. We could go out and do work together, which I did a lot as the third wheel to them, which was fun at times, but also, I guess, slightly awkward at times as well. I don't think they were ever expecting me to get into a relationship with someone like Meghan, who had a very successful career. There was a lot of stereotyping that was happening that I was guilty of as well at the beginning." Harry clarified what he meant by stereotyping. "American actress, and that was playing out in the British press and the media at the time as well. I had that in the back of my mind, and some of the things that my brother and sister-in-law, some of the way that they were acting or behaving definitely felt to me as though, unfortunately, that stereotyping was causing a bit of a barrier to them really sort of, introducing or welcoming her in." Bradby pressed Harry, who explained, "Well, American actress, divorced, biracial, there's all different parts to that and what that can mean, but if you are, like a lot of my family do, if you are reading the press, the British tabloids, at the time as living the life, then there is a tendency where you could actually end up living the tabloid bubble rather than the actual reality." Harry asked the Queen for permission to keep his beard for William's wedding. She allowed it, and that made William unhappy. Harry shared, "I think a lot of it is to do with, refer to it as heir spare, but also older brother, younger brother. There's a level of competition there. And again, writing this, I remembered that William had a beard himself and that Granny and other people told him that he had to shave it off. I think William found it hard that other people told him to shave it off, and yet there I was on my wedding day wearing military uniform, no longer in the military, but believing as though I should shave it off before my wedding day. And I said, well, I don't believe that Meghan's going to recognize me if she comes up the aisle and sees me beardless." Of his father, Harry said Charles has always given the air of not being quite ready for parenthood. But single parenthood, Pa was never made for that. To be fair, he tried. About the day the Queen died, Harry said, "The day that she died was just a really, really horrible reaction from my family members. And then, by all accounts, well, certainly from what I saw and what other people probably experienced, was that they were on the back foot and then the briefings and the leaking and the planting. It was like, we're here to celebrate the life of Granny and to mourn her loss. Can we come together as a family? But I don't know how we can change that." Could Harry get back together with his family? I think there's probably a lot of people who, after watching the documentary or reading the book, will go, how could you ever forgive your family for what they've done? People have already said to me, and I said forgiveness is 100% a possibility because I would like to get my father back. Harry discussed the bridesmaid incident. Did Meghan upset Kate or did Kate upset Meghan? It's a question for them. They were more than happy to put out statements for less volatile things. My understanding is the reason they didn't want to come out and say that it wasn't true would therefore lead to, well, if it wasn't that, was it the other way around? When in fact you didn't need to confess that it was the other way around, right? Tensions were high. But it wasn't a case of she did this too. That's not what this is about. But the palace still could have come out and said, this never happened. Harry even commented on the column by Jeremy Clarkson saying the world is asking for some form of comment from the monarchy, but the silence is defining, to put it mildly. It encourages men to go and think that it's acceptable to treat women that way. There was an awkward moment when Bradby did not want to discuss Harry's virginity story. Harry asked, "We can talk about you losing your virginity if you want." Bradby replied, No, let's not do that. Let's not go there." Why did Harry write the book? 38 years. 38 years of having my story told by so many different people with intentional spin and distortion felt like a good time to own my story and be able to tell it for myself. You know, I don't think if I was still part of the institution that I would have been given this chance to. So I'm actually really grateful that I've had the opportunity to tell my story because it's my story to tell. Harry said of the interview, "I don't know whether they'll be watching this or not, but what they have to say to me and what I have to say to them will be in private, and I hope it can stay that way." ITV's Chris Shipp tweeted, "Harry says this with no expression of irony." Palace Intrigue will be right back. Harry was also on 60 Minutes, interviewed by Anderson Cooper. CBS shared a transcript online. Harry was asked if he cried when Diana died. Harry said, No, never shed a single tear at that point. I was in shock, 12 years old, sort of, 7:30 in the morning, early. Your father comes in, sits on your bed, puts his hand on your knee and tells you there's been an accident. I couldn't believe. Harry didn't believe Diana was actually dead. Perhaps she had chosen to disappear from the public. Harry explained, "For a long time, I just refused to accept that she was gone. Part of, she would never do this to us, but also part of maybe this is all part of a plan." Anderson Cooper asked, you really believe that maybe she had just decided to disappear for a time? Prince Harry, "For a time, and then she would call us and that we would go and join her, yes." Harry has this belief for many, many years, and William and I talked about it as well. He had similar thoughts. Anderson Cooper, "You write in the book, I'd often say it to myself first thing in the morning. Maybe this is the day that she's going to reappear." Prince Harry, "Yep, hope. I had huge amounts of hope." Anderson Cooper later asked if Harry feels like he has enough information about Diana's death. The conversation had an air of conspiracy theory to it, although none was spoken. Does Harry have enough info? He said, "Truth be known, no, I don't think so, and I don't think my brother does either. I don't think the world does. Do I need any more than I already know? No, I don't think it would change much." The themes of the interview were very similar to the Bradby interview, sometimes even using very similar language. The topic of stereotypes came up. Harry said, "The fact that she was American, an actress, divorced, black, biracial, with a black mother. Those were just 4 of the typical stereotypes that has become a feeding frenzy for the British press. My family reads the tabloids, it's laid out at breakfast when everyone comes together. So whether you walk around saying you believe it or not, it's still leaving the imprint in your mind. So if you have the judgment based on a stereotype right at the beginning, it's very, very hard to get over that, and a large part of it for the family. But also the British press and numerous other people are like, 'He's changed, she must be a witch, he's changed,' as opposed to, 'I did change, and I'm really glad I changed. Because rather than getting drunk, falling out of clubs, taking drugs, I had now found the love of my life, and I now had the opportunity to start a family with her.' Harry revealed that he did not see the Queen after she had died. "I walked into the hall and my aunt was there to greet me. She asked if I wanted to see her. I thought about it for 5 seconds, thinking, is this a good idea? And I was like, you know what? You can do this. You need to say goodbye. So I went upstairs, took my jacket off and walked in and just spent some time with her alone. She was in her bedroom. I was really happy for her because she'd finished life. She'd completed life and her husband was waiting for her. And the two of them had buried together." Harry did not specify who he meant by his aunt, but it is believed to be Princess Anne. Harry has not spoken to his brother for quite a while. No, not recently. Cooper did not press to quantify what not recently means. He expressed a willingness to apologize. "Meghan and I have continued to say that we will openly apologize for anything we did wrong. But every time we ask that question, no one's telling us the specifics or anything. There needs to be a constructive conversation, one that can happen in private that doesn't get leaked." As the 60 Minutes piece aired in the middle of the night in UK time, there was not much reaction from the tabloids at the time of this recording. A quick take would be that Bradby's interview was the more interesting and that Cooper's interview was a tad velvet glove. Harry was announced as Monday morning's guest on Good Morning America. We'll cover all the reactions and recap GMA on Tuesday's podcast with special breaking news podcasts if warranted. In other news, royal editor for the Sunday Times, Roya Nicker, reported, "I can also reveal that Prince Harry has been written out of the script for the coronation, with no official role in the service if he attends. Breaking with tradition, Charles will scrap royal dukes kneeling and paying homage to the monarch. Only William will perform that role." A source told the Times, "If Harry does not make it, he might be relieved to learn that he will not be required to kneel and pledge allegiance to his father." A well-placed source says, "As things stand, there is no role for Harry in the service." Harry's new book, Spare, will be officially released tomorrow. Today is Kate Middleton's 41st birthday. And there you have it. If you'd like to email us, our address is thepalaceintrigue@gmail.com. Please follow us on Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, or wherever you get your favorite shows. I'm Mark Francis. My thanks to John McDermott. This is Palace Intrigue, and good times.
All right, here's the pitch. 5 stories, they're all good news. It's called 5 Good News Stories. No negative news, just good news. Nice, easy way to start your day. Hopefully a smile. Hi, I'm Johnny Mack, host of 5 Good News Stories. You get the premise? There's 5 stories, and they're all good news. So the number 5, Good News Stories. 5 Good News Stories. Follow the show wherever you get your podcasts.